Hello there. This is day one of my director's diary. So this is especially curated specifically for Direct Your First Play members. And this is an opportunity for you to follow a director, my directing process, quite literally from day one all the way to opening night. So this is a 4 week rehearsal process that includes technical week as well as previews. So I will guide you through my process quite literally from the first day through these 10-minute video diaries all the way to opening night, press night. So as this is day one of rehearsals, there's many things that I had to prepare for. There's a meet and greet that I needed to account for. I needed to account for a research section as well as a read through, and culminating in effectively a table discussion around the play. So I started the day 10 a.m. Met with the some of the creatives and the actors at the theater. And for my preparation for this day, because I knew we were missing a creative, a key creative, we're missing a lot of creatives actually. Ideally, I would have wanted, typically, what would happen is I would have wanted for there to begin with a meet and greet in the morning, then we do a read through, sorry, a model box showing, and then a read through. And then in the afternoon from 2 till 5, we'll do some research work, watching a documentary and then discussing the play. But really, we're waiting for the writer to arrive, and also we were waiting for other creatives. So what I did was met with the actors. Um, I opened up by kind of speaking to them about the plan, part of the plan actually. So myself, in fact, I can identify maybe I made a little bit of a mistake in that I didn't sit them down and actually present them with the plan, the rehearsal 4 week plan. So this diary kind of relates to just some of the kind of errors that you might make as well. So what I should have done is sat them down at the table and introduced ourselves. I asked them actually, something interesting that happened to them, and then something that they're looking forward to for the process, throughout the process. I then connected my computer or searched a documentary that I had lined up. You might find that actually you don't need to have any documentaries shown, but this is something I took from working with Matthew Zia, the director Matthew Zia, where on that play Blood Knot by Athol Fugard at the Orange Tree, um, it was set in apartheid South Africa, so it kind of was paramount for us to actually watch some sort of documentary around that. So we sat for about an hour together as director and actors and watched this documentary. And I really took that on to my first play meetings, and I continue to do so. So I had a documentary that I connected. I explained to them the plan for this research section, which we got together and watched this documentary. We then talked a little bit about that documentary. Prior to talking about that, gave them a 5 minute break. We came back. We kind of chopped it up in regards to things that popped up in this documentary, things they may have known, things they may not have known, and we discussed a little bit deeper. This went on for about 10, 15 minutes. Naturally, conversations, with creatives and actors always goes on for a pretty decent amount of time. So by this time, I also had another piece of very, very brief clip that I was going to show them. So show them a 2 minute clip that we discussed again. And then from then on, what I did do, what I mentioned that I should have done, I then told them about the plan. So I told them about literally what we plan to do today, tomorrow, week 2, week 3, week 4, and so on and so forth. And my expectation for them to be off book by week 4, beginning of week 4, the Monday. So the purpose of that is that they get to understand the process, where they're working towards. What are they working towards, right? Where do they need to be by the end of week 4? So they don't think they're kind of freestyling. They don't look at you as a director who is going to be a little bit wishy-washy without a plan, because that will make them nervous. So by giving them some sort of concrete roadmap, concrete plan ahead, they have the confidence to go, okay, we're in safe hands. So we talked about the plan for that. We then went through a particular timeline that was very key to this play. You know, this play charted a significant moment in history, and you may find that your characters need to be aware, or your actors need to be aware of where their characters have come from. So we sat down for an hour from 12 to 1-ish. And quite literally, we started at 12 and ended at 1. So I'm very strict with the time. Lunch is at 1, we finish at 6, sometimes a little bit earlier. I also, when we begin the kind of rehearsal process in those first 2 to 3 weeks, we work in hour bursts. So we do an hour table work, get up, have a break for 15, come back to another hour. So these, I go into detail, of course, if you're watching this, you've seen my Direct Your First Play course. So you've seen this in from episode 1, actually, from session 1. So I gave them the kind of the lay of the land. So we after that lay of the land, that's when we went on to this timeline and we just went through it. Sometimes these things are very tedious, it seems, but it's so important. So do not be tempted to rush and go, let's quickly get up on our feet. Some people will want that. That is something maybe that you feel helps you. But with such a research heavy, dense play, you want to be really at the foundational level. You want to really dig deep into some research based stuff, which will help you later on. So we did that, and then lunch came about. Obviously had lunch, and we came back, and at this point, the fellow creatives had turned up. So we met them. So we did what is known as a meet and greet. Typically, that can sometimes happen in a morning session. Other times it can happen in an afternoon session, depending on people's availability. Some people are zoomed in nowadays, if someone can't make it, they have the option. So but I started by introducing myself to the team, some of whom I knew already. In fact, all of whom I knew. But of course, there's actors that might not know my reason for choosing the play. So what you want to do is you want to effectively um, uh, introduce yourself to the team, but also talk about your passion, why you chose this play. Big up the writer, big up the actors and the whole creatives. Get them feeling very excited about this project, because you are their fearless leader, and this is a moment for you to step forward. And it's in the way you present yourself, and it's in the way you talk about the play. So having that confidence is it's frightening. Not gonna lie to you, it is frightening, but be confident and ready to take that on board. So you take center stage, so to speak, and you effectively, very firmly and assertively, with warmth and kind of a sense of humor, present your passion and your reason for doing this play. So we did that. We had some kind of introductions from various creatives, lighting, sound, the writer, the actors. Everyone got to meet each other, so they know. They'll forget the names, but they'll remember eventually. So we did that, and then just in time, we were able to then begin our model box showing. Now, the model box, for those of you that might be not familiar with that, is effectively the 3D. Typically, it's the 3D showing of the set, right? So if there is budget that allows, the designer would bring the actual model box and the actors, and everybody would look over and see, oh, my character's going to be there, have little figurines of their characters and the set as you can see it and the seating plan. But sometimes resources don't really allow for that. So we did a digital kind of model box, and myself and the designer, we presented it, our ideas, our inspiration, and that kind of thing. And we talked about that for about 30 or so minutes, and answered some questions. From then on, we had a nice the team, the theater, then came and gave the spiel about their marketing, their they got to do their theater stuff. And also, I failed to mention as well, some the theater will also do at the beginning of the day the health and safety chat. So factor that in when you're doing your schedule. There'll be either, if it's a company stage manager, or the general manager or the producer will come in and say, this is the fire safety, this is how we work. If you need anything, such and such, right? So we did that. That particular thing happened in the morning, and but after the model box presentation, we had a break, came back and began the read through. So we did the read through. Someone, usually a stage manager, will time your read through. So you'd have to remember to get the time for that. You start jotting down some ideas of what you hear. But before the read through, what I would suggest is, again, this is something that I've seen a lot of directors I've worked with do. There's some directors, and you might be one of those, who feel they want this to be a give me your end performance. I want to see what you're gonna do for me, right? They give the freedom for you to do that. There's some that say, actually, remember, this is just day one. You don't have to give us the full Monty, you know. You don't have to give us the full version of this. So I started by just letting them know that this is not the performance level. Use this as a chance to discover things. If you do want to go in, go all in. But if you want to take it easy, take it easy. And again, I took it from director Matthew Zia, who suggested something similar. And of course, you may have seen that on this on the session 6, possibly of an interview from him. If you haven't, then of course disregard what I just said. Maybe it's a secret episode that will be released very soon. But yes, so we had the read through and we discussed that. After the read through, we kind of invite the creatives to stay or leave, the theater staff to also leave, and they left, and gave them a break. And then we came back and we talked through the play. We talked through the ideas of the play. We talked through inspiration from the writer, what inspired them. We talked through the kind of people's processes. The writer asked, what do you need to do your best work? What do we need to do to facilitate that? And we all talk very openly about kind of our initial thoughts, and people very candid, and they talk very passionately and beautifully and honestly about what chimed with them and what they needed, and kind of little things for us to be aware of. So that's something you always need to be very kind of cognizant towards, and so that this kind of experience becomes very manageable for you. And I was very honest with them. I said, I'm very collaborative, but I'm also a dictator, in meaning that I'm happy to listen to your ideas, but I believe in singular vision, right? And that is the idea that everybody's going to have loads of different ideas, but you have the unique vantage point that you have worked on this play for a while. You've spoken to the writer, you've spoken to the creators, you know the actors. So therefore, if someone presents something, you can go, that might actually mess us up later on. So maybe we can't really take that on board at the moment. But let me think about that. So we talked a lot about that. And so they know that you are in the director's chair, you are in the driver's chair, the driver's seat. So it's very important to make that clear in a very warm, authoritative way. The balance of that is very important. So we did that. We then needed to go finish off some of the research, and we talked heavily around that as well. And in the end, we ended the day right on time, 6 p.m. And then I had to kind of have some peripheral conversations with sound design and movement, solving certain things that I really wanted to flag up very early on. That's very important while you have your creatives there. If you can get them to a side during a break, or a quiet moment and say, oh, by the way, on page such and such, there's this section that I feel like we should really be aware of. The sound person very kindly had played us a piece of music that's going to open the show. So we were able to go, we're thinking of this, me and the movement director. And similarly, I went up to them and I was like, okay, this might potentially, confuse us. This is what we do to clarify. And the actors had actually also voiced some of their points of kind of maybe unclarity, let's call it that, right? And we had a solve that we'd already spoken to the sound designer, composer, and the movement director. So I was able to present that to them. So come in with some solves, but know that there might be some flexibility around it kind of changing. So and then I caught myself being involved also in a conversation with the designer and the producer around some of our kind of costings with the set and flexibility. And I had to be really flexible with a design idea that I thought I'd communicated a particular way to the designer, and she presented it in a new way, and it kind of went against an idea that I had. But I had to really kind of remember I said I'm collaborative. I am collaborative, and when she presented that in the way that she presented it, I had to yield and say, yes, okay, let's do it exactly like that. So a very, very key thing is to always be willing to listen and be collaborative and know when to kind of argue for a particular point and know when to effectively let one go and know that the people, the creatives you've hired, also have their own vision and are actually a little bit more knowledgeable than you are in certain areas. And that was one of those moments, that discussion with my designer. So thank you so much. This is day one of Kalunji's director's diaries. Um, and I look forward to seeing you for day two, where we begin our first day of not only table work, where we begin uniting, but also we've sprinkled in some movement as well. So join me for the following entry on my director's diary. Thank you. See you soon.